Good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Dr. Sheffield, and I currently serve as the program manager for post-secondary access for College AIM. Before we begin this presentation, this session will be recorded and posted on the event site for you to return and watch again. This will be of help to the individuals who were unable to get into the live stream. The Metro Atlanta College Access Conference event site will remain posted for the entire fall season, so you can return at any time to watch this presentation or any others that you might have missed. This session is being presented in Zoom webinar mode. All attendees are automatically muted to avoid unnecessary or inappropriate background noise. To participate in this live stream, use your Zoom interaction tools found at the bottom of your Zoom window. Depending on the type of device you are using, you might need to mouse over the bottom of the screen or window to see the toolbar, which has a black background with white icons. On that toolbar, you will see the icon labeled Q&A. Please click on that now to open a new window so that you are all set to use that function as needed. All right, so with that being said, we are going to go ahead and get started. If we can, Ms. Bradley or Miss Taylor, if you want to do a quick introduction, just to say hello and who you are.
Sure. I am Terry Bradley. I am the mother of four, but my third daughter worked with College AIM last year, and she is now a freshman at Brandeis University
Nice.
and living her best life. So I'm really excited and thankful for the experience that we had with College AIM because she had a totally different school on her radar that I did not have on my radar. So I'm glad College AIM was really able to get us on the same page.
Awesome, thank you.
Hi, my name is Sandra Taylor. I am the grandmother of Sean Taylor, and College AIM really helped us a lot. We had a devastating event in that he was given a full scholarship to Payne College, and then 2 weeks before he was supposed to report, they declined the scholarship because they were not having any sports. So we had to scrabble to try to get him in college. And I'm happy to say, with the help of College AIM and one of his coaches, he is now attending Benedict College. He did not get a full scholarship, but he did get a partial scholarship.
Awesome. Well, congratulations to you both. So I have a couple of questions that I'm just going to ask. And so let's go ahead and dive in with the first question. How did you feel going into the college search and application process for the first time with your child? Why did you feel that way?
I don't mind going first. So my experience is probably a little bit unique in that I said, like she's my third child to go off to college, but she's my first girl. And she's just very independent and has her own mind and her own way of thinking. And we, like I said, we weren't on the same page at all about college. I also think that a lot of kids pick colleges based on just prestige or where they want to go, but they don't take financial concerns into consideration at all.
Mhm.
And so there was a lot. It was a very difficult time for us. And she, thankfully, she really was open to the process of working with College AIM, and so really did serve as our mediator in that process because I felt like she was kind of setting her bar low in terms of the schools, but the tuitions were what it would cost to go to a really great private university. And so I think, working with College AIM, it was really about kind of saying, okay, this is really where you are. These are the kind of schools you'd be striving for. We looked at your financial needs. Looking at all these different factors, let's look at some colleges that probably will work for your family. And then that really gets you what you want out of it too. And so it was, I just cannot tell you, and this is not like an infomercial at all, but I cannot tell you how grateful I am for that experience because it was a mother-daughter battle for sure. I'm sure a lot of parents that are participating in this will get that. We were not on the same page. And so I was concerned about her selecting a college that quite frankly we couldn't afford.
Mhm.
And that was beneath where she should be, right? So there was two challenges there. And so our experience was, once we got through it, I think, like right now, she could not be happier about where she is and how things are going. And the fact that you all kind of focus on the to and through, I think that's really super special and super and really important, because a lot of programs get kids there and then drop them off.
Mhm.
And so I think taking this approach is just like really gonna be a game changer for her.
Awesome. Thank you. Ms. Taylor?
Well, my experience, the way I felt overwhelmed. Like I said, it's my grandson, and he's in sports, and the coaches had kind of given us false dreams, I would say. I was asking, what should I do? What should I be doing? And they were saying everything will fall into place. So it was kind of like we were in the dark trying to figure out what to do. We didn't know what to do and how to look. We started looking at different colleges to support his athletic abilities. And
Mhm.
so it was very, very stressful, to say the least. And College AIM was a common mechanism because they gave us steps on what to do and how to do it. And they were right there with us all the way. Even when he lost the scholarship, I panicked. It was so late. He had offers earlier, but all those offers were gone. So now what does he do? And I'm just proud that he was able to get in another school at that late date, and that College AIM really, really helped us through the entire process from FAFSA all the way through. And right now they are still assisting us. So I feel so much better.
Awesome. Awesome. Great stuff. How did you feel at first about your children going to college out of town and out of state? How do you feel about it now?
I felt sad in a way. The first offer he got was in California. I said, that's out of
Oh.
the question. But I felt sort of hesitant. My grandson has been with us for 7 years. And so it was like, I just really didn't want to let him go. I was afraid he's quiet and laid back, that he wouldn't be mature enough to handle that freedom.
Mhm.
But now I feel better about it. I feel that it's a teaching mechanism, that he's maturing more and growing up more by being out of town. And where he is 3 hours away. So that's not so bad. So I feel a lot better about it now.
Good.
So we have different experiences. I was all about it. Like, you got to go. And I think for me, I know that I can be a hover mom. And so, and she didn't want that at all. And I really wanted her to have the full college experience. Now, I will say with COVID, that shifted kind of some things. But it's always been very clear to my children, I don't want you to go to school and stay. I want you to get out, go have an experience, go have a good lived experience, take internships out of town. Like, I wanted them to do things differently than what I did. And I mean, I went out of state, but I went out of state where all my family was, and I wanted Maya to go out and really kind of just spread her wings, explore a different part of the country that she's never been to, be around people that she's probably not, used to being around here in Atlanta. Catch all that I'm saying. And so, that was really important to me. Now, when COVID happened, it did give me pause about her going to be on campus, but they were not playing Brandeis, and they took some serious precautions. And like all the kids from red states that weren't quarantining hard, they had to come early and quarantine, and they get COVID testing every 2 weeks. And so I feel much more at peace with that. So do I feel sad that like I can't just, hey, let's go grab, Starbucks or whatever? Yeah. But I think this is the way that it's supposed to be. And so I feel good about it.
Awesome. Thank you. What was the most difficult part of the college search, application, and financial aid process for you and your child?
What was the most?
The most difficult part of the college search, application, and financial aid process for you and your child?
Well, the financial aid portion was a piece of cake due to College Aim. They went to his school and helped him complete that portion of the process. Otherwise, looking on the computer and trying to visit schools and trying to find a school that would make him an offer and fit into our budget was difficult. You wanted to try to find somewhere he would fit in. And I too wanted him to experience being away from home and learn to mature in some independence. But it was hard looking on the computer and trying to contact coaches and get your coaches to contact them to see how much money you could get, seeing how many coaches contact you. It was difficult to try to figure out the school versus the money versus his interests. It was a difficult process, but like I said, College Aim was always there to assist us, so that helped a lot.
Okay, awesome.
I mean, I think I kind of talked about it, like we just weren't on the same page. So I was like, you need to go to a school that does this and you know, all these great things, right? And she was like, for some reason, and this is no shade to this school, but she was stuck on State University of New York, like Oswego or some crazy place. And it was interesting because it was Sam who was like, Maya, come on now, you can do better. I mean, like, you know, this is not where you need to be. Like, you're going to spend just as much tuition to go there, to go that far as you would, you know, another school that, you know, your grades, your academic talent or whatever. And so I wanted her, I think she was choosing safe schools that based on fear. And somehow she got in her head that that was the best creative writing school in the world. And I'm like, you can take creative writing almost anywhere. So I think, I can't remember who the alumni is, but Brandeis has a very famous, I don't know if it's Alice Walker or who is it?
Oh my God. Get my mind just that fast. Yeah.
But once she learned that,
Angela Davis.
Once she learned Angela Davis went there, she was like, oh, okay. And then it was cool, I think, for her to also talk to some College Aim alumni who were there. So that connection was there because she knew she wouldn't be on campus alone. And at least, you know, somebody would be there kind of looking out for her a little bit, or at least she could say, hey, I don't understand this, or how does this process work, or whatever else. And so that was, that kind of turned things around.
Awesome. Thank you. So it is now October. I'm pretty sure if you go back to last year, you know what that means. FAFSA is now open. So what advice do you have about FAFSA and financial aid documents?
Do it early. Do it early. Yeah, don't wait till the last minute. Money runs out. So school money runs out. So get that process started as early as you possibly can. Maya has almost all of her tuition covered through the program that she's in, but there's like a little gap. And so she reached out to me last week and she was like, can we do FAFSA this weekend? So I think, you know, and I did not do it early last year. And this is child number 3, so I know better. But definitely I would say do it early. Get all your stuff together and get that going.
I suggest doing it early, and if you fear it or have a problem, call College Aim. Get in contact with them because I know they really assisted my grandson in completing that paperwork. He did his early, so that helped a lot.
Thank you. Where did you go to for help with the process, for anything associated with the college application process? Where did you go? Where did your children go to for help with the process? I think I kind of know where this is going.
We didn't seek a lot of outside help, except for with, I mean, we're gonna keep saying it, but except for College Aim, really. You know, by the time that the school counselors and folks kind of got involved and was sending information, you know, we'd already made the decision, we were ready to go. So it really was, you know, College Aim helped they reviewed my essay before she submitted her essay, which was a big part, I think, of why she even got in. So I think that was really important. She's a very strong writer, but just having an outside, some people who know what people, what the schools are looking for in that essay process, that was very helpful. And just walking through, because like I said, we were so far away from where we are now. So getting her to where we are now was 100% college aim, because I think she was telling me no just because I'm mom. So I would call her and be like, hey, this is what she's saying. So this is what I need you to do. So yeah, but it was also really thinking about what she wanted to, and knowing who she, like really looking at her as a person and saying, these are the things that are important to you. Let's find a school where that matches. So our college aim really was our source.
Thank you.
For me, I approached the counselors, his counselor at school, but then she had so many students to focus on. And she was good in submitting like his transcripts and things of that nature. But my grandson is in track. He's a very good jumper. And his coach from his senior year was very inspirational in helping us. He acted like my grandson was the only student that he had focus on, and he wasn't even at that school. So that made me feel good that he shared in the interests of my grandson. When you feel like someone has your interests at heart, it makes you depend on them more. Between Coach Horn and Mr. A, they were lifesavers.
Mm-hmm.
They really were. I wouldn't say if it wasn't true. Between those two, I went to those two for help. We went on the computer. We talked to different coaches. We sent letters to various coaches. But to have someone firsthand sit with you, advise you, talk to you, and take genuine interest in you, that makes a world of difference. And that was College Aim and Coach Horn.
Awesome. Okay. Is there anything that you wish you could go back and change about some of the things that you did during the college application process with your child?
Actually, I wish we had started earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I wish we had started the process of looking at schools earlier, and him getting his letter together to submit to various colleges. We were really depending more so on his college, his high school coach to do a lot of that, but that didn't work out. But I would start looking, at least in your junior year,
Mm-hmm.
start looking at colleges. And if you're a writer or if you're in sports, whatever your expertise is, try to find schools that match you with that talent.
Mm-hmm.
And start early. And then you can seek help from whoever you can find help. I'm not ashamed to ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask for help.
Right.
You said what was the thing I would wish we had done differently?
Is there anything that you would possibly change about what you went through with the college application process? Anything that you wish you could have discussed or with Mr. A or your child during this process? Or
Yeah, and I think I probably wish I hadn't had such a heavy hand in coming up with the schools. Like, I think if she would have come to Brandeis on her own, but teenagers, whatever. And so I think if I had let her feel like she was leading the process a lot more. Now, mind you, I also was in the background doing this because I knew what the finances were, right? So I knew what the financials had to look like in order for it to make sense. So that was part of it. But I think this is their first real delve into adulthood, right? And so this is like a really big life decision for them. So we've got to empower them to be able to really do or feel like they are leading this decision that really is transformative for their lives.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wish I had played more of a background role from the beginning. Now, I learned that through the process. Like, I started kind of stepping back a little bit, and I was seeing that I was getting more wins as I stepped back a little bit more. But that also depends on your child too, right? I know she's a go-getter. She's very aggressive. She's very she's her mom. And so I know that she was gonna do it. Now, if it were, maybe one of my older kids, I know I had to shepherd this process the whole way. And I think I treated her as if I were treating, my two older ones. And so I didn't vary it up based on personality. So I think really just taking your, kids' personality into account, like are they gonna, she was gonna get to it. And I should have just trusted the fact that I knew that she would get to it.
Yeah, I'm glad you made that point because each child is different. And so you know your child. And so just really take that into consideration. That's a really good point. Um, Going back to kind of like the financial piece. Um, I just left one session and told them as I was, presenting to them, I told the students like your part-time job right now should really be applying for scholarships.
Yes.
And so my question to you is, how much emphasis did you put on your child looking for grants and scholarships outside of their everyday lives?
Not enough. Not enough. So that's another thing. If you talk about regret, that would have been one. Like I said it as if it were a suggestion. Hey, you should look for some scholarships. Hey, we need to look for some grants. I did not put my foot down and say, you need to have applied to 5 scholarships by the end of October, 5 by the end of November. That's the kind of thing that I'm going to do with my last child. Like we need to make sure that we've got this. I don't want you to be, debt ridden with a bunch of student loans. So there's money out there, and I need to be very serious about looking for it. And that is your part. I'm covering everything else in your life. So your job is to find some scholarships, some scholarship money. So yeah, I wish I had been much more assertive about that process than, making it seem like it was an option.
Thank you.
I can just piggyback on what she said. My grandson pursued it, but not enough. And again, I feel it's important to do that early because the money will disappear. So pursue it as hard as you can, but as early as you can. Start looking for those scholarships. That's what I wish we had done, is to start looking for, because he got a little bit discouraged because a lot of the money was already gone. So he did look for some, but not like he could have.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. So this is actually my last question, and then I'm going to open it up to the attendees. It asks one specific, but I'm going to open it up. What are some tips that you would give to parents who are going through this process right now, or going to get, or about to go through this process? So whether they are a sophomore parent or junior parent or a senior parent, what tips would you give them?
Lord, practice patience. Make that be part of your daily practice. Have really open conversations and communications about the finances, and about what they can do. Now, what I would also say is don't discount certain schools because they seem like they're expensive, because you don't know until you apply what type of financial aid package that the school itself has. And so a lot of these schools that people just automatically dismiss have great financial aid packets, particularly for students of color, because they need to have some diversity on their campuses. And if you are a good student or you've got really good at something else, so don't just dismiss like a Brandeis or a Yale or whatever else just because you think it's going to be more expensive, because it may turn out being a lot less expensive than what you would be paying for some other school, right? So don't dismiss that right off the bat. But I would also say then have a good list, a shared list that you both agree upon. And like Ms. Taylor said, like if you can visit some of the schools, even do virtual tours, whatever you can do to really feel like you got a good sense of what that school's about early and often, do that.
Thank you.
I agree to start early. That's the key thing for me. Start early. You can't start too early. Start looking at the schools and digging into the schools to see if that school offers what you want and it meets your financial criteria. Let your students list schools that they're interested in. Then maybe you have schools that you're interested in, and see if you can come to a happy medium, or by getting more details about all the schools, you can narrow the list down or check out all the schools. If you start early enough, you can check out many schools. And the student is the one that's going to be attending the school. So they do need some input. They don't need to be dominated on where they go, because I feel like that's going to be something negative for them. So they need to have some input. If you start early, that gives you time to talk, to search and find information and talk to people, virtual visits, physical visits, all the information you can get about finance, about the school, about what your child is interested in. All those things will help the student be a better and happy student.
Thank you. One more question. How many schools did your child apply to?
Probably like 10 to 15.
Okay.
You applied to a lot. Most of them back home in Minnesota, which we knew that wasn't happening, or I knew that wasn't happening. But so let her have it. But probably about 10 to 15 schools.
Okay. And the second part of my question is, how did you narrow that down to your final decision?
I think it was doing virtual visits, conversations with the school, people at the school, you know, really talking through the finances. It was all those things that we talk about, the way to win this battle or this situation. We really got, I mean, like towards the end of it, it was such a good experience for both of us. We were on the same page. We knew what needed to be done in order to make sure that, you know, the financial aid was done, and that my part was going to be able to, you know, happen. And so, yeah, I mean, we did a lot of schools, but she applied to a lot of schools, but you know, some of those were like, that's never gonna happen. But the ones that were like seriously in contention, it was like we just talked a lot.
That's good.
I would say my grandson probably applied to 12 plus schools. And what he was looking for, like I said, he's on the track team, and he's a very good runner. I believe in my heart, if had it not been for the pandemic, he would have been first in Georgia his senior year. He was so close. So what narrowed our decision down, or his decision down, basically, he got an offer for a full scholarship. What's more appealing than free? So that's what narrowed our decision down. And it turned out that, you know, that one, it was a very disappointing and devastating event to get told that you don't get that scholarship 2 weeks before you're to report. And so after that, we were kind of scrambling to find a school. And most of the schools that had made him offers earlier, that money was gone. So that's how it got narrowed down to the school to Benedict where he's attending.
Gotcha. So it sounds like both of you agree that communication is definitely a really big factor in helping your child figure out where they're going to spend the next 4+ years. So
yeah.
Yes.
The fact that Angela Davis went to Brandeis, that did not hurt.
Awesome. So at this time, I'm going to open up the question to our attendees. And so if there is a question, you can type that into the Q&A. And so I'm going to take a minute to look at that and see if there are any questions. I don't see any just yet, but I'll give you 30 seconds to a minute to type anything in there. And then if not, we will basically end this session.
Corey, I wanted to make one statement while you're waiting.
Go ahead.
I don't know how to put in words how devastating it was for my grandson to have a full scholarship, only paying a deposit for the dorm to zero. That was extremely devastating. And of course, we both panicked. It was devastating. We panicked, we prayed, and we pursued once we got out of that. So my thing is never give up, no matter how bad it looks. Don't give up. If you run into a dead end, make a U-turn. Pursue other options. And I know Mr. A knows me very well, because when I got that message, the coach didn't call me, he didn't email me, he texted to me.
Mhm.
and I forwarded to Mr. A, and he was very supportive. So you need to have people supportive when you go through
Mhm.
negative things, but always, once you get over the devastation, pursue other avenues.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, unfortunately, with anything in life, there are going to be roadblocks. And
Right.
it's so unfortunate that that happened 2 weeks before he was supposed to report. But if, like you just said, have that support system in place, where, you are able to get some type of services to figure out what it is that you need, to get you over that hurdle. I do have one question that came into the chat box, and that question is, did you have a budget for college application fees?
No, we didn't have a budget for application fees. Some of his applications he got, he didn't have to pay for the application fees.
Mhm.
So that was really a plus for us.
Same here. So I would say check with your school counselor, your career center, because I know Maya had like they covered like 6 application fees. And then a couple of the schools, they waived application
Right.
fees. So there's a way around, like we would not have been applying for 10 to 15 schools if I had to pay all those applications, believe me. So there are different avenues to get that cost covered. And a lot of the schools will waive those, or even in Maya went to Maynard Jackson, and so APS, and so they covered like 6 of her application fees.
Mhm. Yeah, so there are resources that are out there. So if they are applying via Common App, typically there's a question on there that asks, are you eligible for a fee waiver? So if you received an SAT, ACT fee waiver, or you received free or reduced lunch, that also means that if you are applying via Common App, they basically take care of all of your application fees. So that is definitely a plus. And then if there are some schools that also take the NACAC fee waiver, and you can actually talk to your counselor or myself about that. That is something that we can submit on your behalf if you're eligible for it. So there are definitely different ways to do it. And then sometimes you just ask the representative. They will say, because they want you to apply. So if they feel that the application fee is going to be a barrier in you applying, they will take that out of your way. And so that is just a really good way to do it. Closed mouths don't get fed. And so if you have a question about it, by all means, ask. Are there any other questions for our two parents? All right. So I think that's pretty much it. And so I want to thank you both for your time and your honesty. And so again, for those parents that are in the chat, I am Dr. Sheffield. So I will be your point of contact, helping your child through this process this year, if they are a senior and or junior or sophomore. So I am your point of contact. So by all means, if you have any questions or anything that you need answers to, just reach out to Dr. Sheffield. I am your go-to guy. And so for my two parents, I wish you all the best, and I wish your students all the best at Brandeis and Benedict. I have students at both. So
Awesome.
and so I know my students that are at Benedict and Brandeis love their experiences there. So that's great. And so with that being said, you guys have a great night, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Take
Bye-bye.
care. Bye-bye.